Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first video that I'm making. What I wanted to do tonight is kind of highlight the importance of reading. In terms of kind of keeping your mind active, reading is fantastic. You can use your imagination. It can take you to places that are not just sat in your own house, self-isolating. My favourite book is Wolf Brother by Michelle Paver. It's the first in the series called Chronicles of the Ancient Darkness. And it's about a young boy 10,000 years ago in the forests of Northern Europe. And the stories are about his kind of journey. It's about friendship, it's about magic, it's about a clan system, it's about discovery. And what I'm going to do is read the first chapter to you tonight. Hopefully, it will kind of grip you, inspire you. You might want to go and get the hold of the book, or perhaps get the audio book, which is read by Saria McKellen. I might actually read a few more chapters over the next few days as well. But here we go. Chapter 1. Torak woke with a jolt from a sleep he'd never meant to have. The fire had burned low. He crouched in the fragile shell of light and peered into the looming blackness of the forest. He couldn't see anything, couldn't hear anything. Had it come back? Was it out there now, watching him with its hot, murderous eyes? He felt hollow and cold. He knew he badly needed food and that his arm hurt, and his eyes were scratchy with tiredness, but he couldn't really feel it. All night he'd guarded the wreck of the spruce bough shelter and watched his father bleed. How could this be happening? Only yesterday. They'd pitched camp in the blue autumn dusk. Torak had made a joke and his father was laughing. Then the forest exploded. Ravens screamed, pines cracked, and out of the dark beneath the trees surged a deeper darkness, a huge, rampaging menace in bare form. Suddenly death was upon them, a frenzy of claws, a welter of sound to make the ears bleed. In a heartbeat the creature had smashed their shelter to splinters. In a heartbeat it had ripped a ragged wound in his father's side. Then it was gone, melting into the forest as silently as mist. But what kind of bear stalks men, then vanishes without making the kill? What kind of bear plays with its prey? And where was it now? Torak couldn't see beyond the firelight, but he knew that the clearing, too, was a wreck of snapped saplings and trampled bracken. He smelt pine blood and clawed earth. He heard the soft, sad bubbling of the stream 30 paces away. The bear could be anywhere. Beside him, his father moaned. Slowly he opened his eyes and looked at his son without recognition. Torak's heart clenched. It's me, he stammered. How do you feel? Pain convulsed his father's lean brown face. His cheeks were tinged with grey, making the clan tattoos stand out lividly. Sweat matted his long dark hair. His wound was so deep that as Torak clumsily staunched it with beard moss, he saw it glistening in the firelight. He had to grit his teeth to keep from retching. He hoped Far didn't notice, but of course he did. Far was a hunter. He noticed everything. Torak, he breathed. His hand reached out, his hot fingers clinging to Torak's as eagerly as a child. Torak swallowed. Sons clutch their father's hands, not the other way round. He tried to be practical, tried to be a man instead of a boy. I've still got some yarrow leaves, he said, fumbling for his medicine pouch with his free hand. Maybe that'll stop the... Keep it. You're bleeding too. Doesn't hurt, lied Torak. The bear had thrown him against a birch tree, bruising his ribs and gashing his left forearm. Torak, leave. Now, before it comes back. Torak stared at him. He opened his mouth, but no sound came. You must, said his father. No, no, I can't. Torak, I'm dying. I'll be dead by sunrise. Torak gripped the medicine pouch. There was a roaring in his ears. Far! Give me what I need for the death journey. Then get your things. The death journey. No, no. But his father's face was stern. My bow, he said. 3 arrows, you keep the rest. Where I'm going, hunting's easy. There was a tear in the knee of Torak's buckskin leggings. He dug his thumbnail into the flesh. It hurt. He forced himself to concentrate on that. Food, gasped his father. The dried meat. You take it all. Torak's knee had started to bleed. He kept digging. He tried not to picture his father on the death journey. He tried not to picture himself alone in the forest. He was only 12 summers old. He couldn't survive on his own. He didn't know how. Torak, move. Blinking furiously, Torak reached for his father's weapons and laid them by his side. He divided up the arrows, pricking his fingers on the sharp flint points. Then he shouldered his quiver and bow and scrabbled in the wreckage for his small black basalt axe. His hazelwood pack, which had been smashed in the attack. He'd have to cram everything else into his jerkin or tie it to his belt. He reached his reindeer hide sleeping sack. Take mine, murmured his father. You never did repair yours. And swap knives. Torak was aghast. Not your knife. You'll need it. You'll need it more. And it'll be good to have something of yours on the death journey. Far, please, don't. In the forest a twig snapped. Torak spun round. The darkness was absolute. Everywhere he looked the shadows were bear-shaped. No wind, no birdsong, just the crackle of the fire and the thud of his heart. The forest itself was holding its breath. His father licked the sweat from his lips. It's not here yet, he said. Soon. It will come for me soon. Quick. The knives. Torak didn't want to swap knives. That would make it final. But his father was watching him with an intensity that allowed no refusal. Clencing his jaw so hard that it hurt, Torak took his own knife and put it into Far's hand. Then he untied the buckskin sheath from his father's belt. Far's knife was beautiful and deadly, with a blade of banded blue slate shaped like a willow leaf, and a haft of red deer antler that was bound with elk sinew for a better grip. As Torak looked down at it, the truth hit him. He was getting ready for a life without Far. I'm not leaving you, he cried. I'll fight it. No. No one can fight this bear. Ravens flew up from the trees. Torak forgot to breathe. Listen to me, hissed his father. A bear, any bear, is the strongest hunter in the forest. You know that. But this bear, much stronger. Torak felt the hairs on his arms rise. Looking down into his father's eyes, he saw the tiny scarlet veins, and at the centres, the fathomless dark. What do you mean? He whispered. What? It is possessed. His father's face was grim. He didn't seem like Far anymore. Some demon from the other world has entered it and made it evil. An ember spat. The dark trees leaned closer to listen. A demon, said Torak. His father shut his eyes, mustering his strength. It lives only to kill, he said at last. With each kill its power will grow. It will slaughter everything. The prey, the clans, all will die. The forest will die. He broke off. In 1 moon, it will be too late. The demon, too strong. 1 moon? But what? Think, Torak. When the red eye is highest in the night sky, that's when demons are strongest. You know this. That's when the bear will be invincible. He fought for breath. In the firelight, Torak saw the pulse beating in his throat, so faint as if it might stop at any moment. I need you to swear something, said Far. Anything. Far swallowed. Head north. Many day walks. Find the mountain of the world spirit. Torak stared at him. What? His father's eyes opened and he gazed into the branches overhead as if he saw things there that no one else could. Find it, he said again. It's the only hope. But no one's ever found it. No one can. You can. How? I don't. Your guide will find you. Torak was bewildered. Never before had his father talked like this. He was a practical man, a hunter. I don't understand any of this, he cried. What guide? Why must I find the mountain? Will I be safe there? Is that it? Safe from the bear? Slowly Far's gaze left the sky and came to rest on his son's face. He looked as if he was wondering how much more Torak could take. You're too young, he said. I thought I had more time. So much I haven't told you. Don't hate me for that later. Torak looked at him in horror. Then he leapt to his feet. I can't do this on my own. Shouldn't I try to find... No, said his father with startling force. All your life I've kept you apart, even from your own wolf clan. Stay away from men. If they find out what you can do... What do you mean? I don't... No time, his father cut in. Now swear, on my knife, swear that you will find the mountain or die trying. Torak bit his lip hard. East, through the trees, a grey light was growing. Not yet, he thought in panic. Please, not yet. Swear, hissed his father. Torak knelt and picked up the knife. It was heavy. A man's knife. Too big for him. Awkwardly he touched it to the wound on his forearm. Then he put it to his shoulder where the strip of wolf fur, his clan creature, was sewn to his jerkin. In an unsteady voice he took his oath. I swear by my blood on this blade, and by each of my 3 souls, that I will find the mountain of the world spirit, or die trying. His father breathed out. Good, good. Now, put the death marks on me. Hurry. The bear, not far off. Torak felt the salty stings of tears. Angrily he brushed them away. I haven't got any ochre, he mumbled. Take mine. In a blur, Torak found the little antler-tine medicine horn that had been his mother's. In a blur, he yanked out the black oak stopper and shook some of the red ochre into his palm. Suddenly he stopped. I can't. You can. For me. Torak spat into his palm and made a sticky paste of the ochre, the dark red blood of the earth. Then he drew the small circles on his father's skin that would help the souls recognize each other and stay together after death. First, as gently as he could, he removed his father's beaver-hide boots and drew a circle on each heel to mark the name soul. Then he drew another circle over the heart to mark the clan soul. This wasn't easy as his father's chest was scarred from an old wound, so Torak only managed a lopsided oval. He hoped that would be good enough. Last he made the most important mark of all, a circle on the forehead to mark the Nanwak, the world's soul. By the time he'd finished, he was swallowing tears. Better, murmured his father. But Torak saw with a clutch of terror that the pulse in his throat was fainter. You can't die, Torak burst out. His father gazed at him with pain and longing. Far, I'm not leaving you, Torak. You swore an oath. Again he closed his eyes. Now, you keep the medicine horn. I don't need it any more. Take your things. Fetch me water from the river. Then go. I will not cry, Torak told himself as he rolled his father's sleeping sack and tied it across his back, jammed his axe into his belt, stuffed his medicine pouch into his jerkin. He got to his feet and cast about for the water skin. It was ripped to shreds. He'd have to bring water in a dock leaf. He was about to go when his father murmured his name. Torak turned. Yes, Far? Remember, when you're hunting, look behind you. I always tell you. He forced a smile. You always forget. Look behind you, yes? Torak nodded. He tried to smile back, then he blundered through the wet bracken towards the stream. The light was growing and the air smelt fresh and sweet. Around him the trees were bleeding, oozing golden pine blood from the slashes the bear had inflicted. Some of the tree spirits were moaning quietly in the dawn breeze. Torak reached the stream, where mist floated above the bracken and willows trailed their fingers in the cold water. Glancing quickly around, he snatched a dock leaf and moved forwards. His boots sinking into the soft red mud, he froze. Beside his right boot was the track of a bear, a front paw, twice the size of his own head, and so fresh that he could see the points where the long, vicious claws had bitten deep into the mud. Look behind you, Torak. He spun round. Willows, alder, fir. No bear. A raven flew down onto a nearby bough, making him jump. The bird folded its stiff black wings and fixed him with a beady eye. Then it jerked its head, croaked once and flew away. Torak stared in the direction it had seemed to indicate. Dark yew, dripping spruce, dense, impenetrable. But deep within, no more than 10 paces away, a stir of branches. Something was there, something huge. He tried to keep his panicky thoughts from skittering away, but his mind had gone white. The thing about a bear, his father always said, is that it can move as silently as breath. It could be watching you from 10 paces away and you'd never know. Against a bear you have no defences. You can't run faster. You can't climb higher. You can't fight it on your own. All you can do is learn its ways and try to persuade it that you're neither threat nor prey. Torak forced himself to stay still. Don't run. Don't run. Maybe it doesn't know you're here. A low hiss. Again the branches stirred. He heard the stealthy rustle as the creature moved towards the shelter, towards his father. He waited in rigid silence as it passed. Coward, he shouted inside his head. You let it go without even trying to save Far. But what could you do? Said the small part of his mind that could still think straight. Far knew this would happen. That's why he sent you for water. He knew it was coming for him. Torak, came his father's wild cry. Run! Crows burst from the trees. A roar shook the forest. On till Torak's head was splitting. Far, he screamed. Run! Again the forest shook. Again came his father's cry. Then suddenly it broke off. Torak jammed his fist in his mouth. Through the trees he glimpsed a great dark shadow in the wreck of the shelter. He turned and ran. So perhaps not the nicest start to a story, but the rest of the story goes on and shows how Torak does survive and the people that he meets. Maybe I'll come back and read the next chapter, which is where he meets one of his lifelong friends.